All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Beastars, Season 1, Episode 6.
I love the show.
Right.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of, it seems, done with a lot of the early conflicts that, could be expected to happen between the characters. And maybe we're on to new stages for things. Because Legoshi's a lot more confident. Him and Haru have had a good beginning conversation after that whole lunch thing, and also Jack is the best boy ever.
The way they've set things up here is that there's going to be a bit of a stronger connection to the two of them, and yet I'm not as optimistic as you, dude.
Oh yeah,
I'm not as optimistic. I feel like that where it's starting off right now is based on a lot of unspoken things, and that's not a way to start a relationship. That's a way to start a conversation.
Sure.
Is that we have some things we need to say. So let's talk them out. So if anything, let's have that more.
Right.
So let's go things a lot slower, in my opinion. Yeah. And as long as we can go like that, have things a lot slower, which is antithetical to the way Haru tried to start things.
Right.
Then
it gives more potential for things to happen in different ways. And
right. Which leads towards potentially a foundation for something. Whether it's good or bad, we'll just have
whatever
to see.
Form it takes.
Whatever form, I really like that we got also a little bit of a breather with regards to showing that, yes, we got the message, y'all, that there were only 2 productions of the play, and I went back and rewatched the episode to double confirm that. But the fact that play production and the way it went down in the 4th episode really changed the way things are in the school, as far as like the way certain perceptions of people are, and the fact that Legoshi kind of got that spotlight there. So things are quite interesting now, and there's a lot of opportunity for some maybe some words to be kind of passed around the school in general.
Maybe for some drama.
Yes. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this.
I love this OP so much. Like, it's a blend of so many different styles all together, but it works so well.
It's also something that I've just slowly but surely been realizing, but was, there's this shot here where we showed the antlers and everything, but if you look, the trees are all antlers.
Right.
Such a sweet time. My friend, let's start the overtime.
I love dancing sequences in OPs. This part.
Music. It's called jazz.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. Wow, a gray wolf and...
It's nothing new.
ありがとう、お兄ちゃん。
行こうぜ。
What was coward? Just
ってな嘘ついたりして。
いえ、助かりました。
Jeez.
ありがとうございます。
先生にもなればきっと慣れちゃう。
Oh.
慣れなくちゃいけないことなんですか、こんなこと。中等部の頃よりあからさまです。こういうことにいちいち傷ついちゃうから。
I feel like I recognize this Seiyu.
Yeah, yeah, I do too.
怪しいと思えるあなたは強いです。じゃあ、これで。
レゴシ先輩ですよね、美術チームの。
Oh.
私、今年
Oh.
Okay.
ジュノって言います。
Juno.
That's cool.
Okay.
潰した日にシーラ先輩から聞いたんです。
Oh.
灰色狼の2年生がいるって。優しいオス狼って言ってたので。同じ種族同士、これからタメ口で話してください。
そっか、後輩に敬語はおかしいか。じゃあ、今日の部活も行く？
He's not answering her question. Do you want to keep in touch more? Oh, so are you going to the club?
役所と隕石祭の打ち合わせをしてくること。
Yep.
くれぐれも
Mm.
裏市に寄り道なんてするなよ。
Is that maybe where
Where he got
Bill
his
got
blood?
the blood? Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
青葉は行ったことあんの？裏市。
いや、でも大人になれば利用することになるんだよ。肉食は。
Wow. Well, world building there, man.
Hmm. Yeah.
Something they'll just have to get used to doing when they grow up. Like, that's really serious.
Yeah.
Hey, regular clothes!
考えてみたら、俺にとって1年ぶりの外の。
Whoa! That's nuts!
なんか大人って実はかなり平和に生活しているのか。
外は楽しくないんじゃなかったのか？え？尻尾振ってるぜ。
Huh?
尻尾収納できるズボン買おうかな。
Oh, no!
そしたらあの女があなたのセックスは自分包囲すぎて私虚しくなってきたとかわけわかんねえこと言って泣き出しやがってよ。で、レゴシはいつ童貞卒業すんの？
なんで知ってる？
入部員に可愛い灰色狼いるじゃん。
ジュノさんのこと？
レゴシが何
お
を言っている。おお、ありじゃんありじゃん。駅ってどっちだ？迷いました。お？ズーズルマップどう？
Suzo. And they stumble into the dark market.
Yeah. Yep. Oh.
おい、レゴシ、どうしたんだ？
Oh. Oh.
好きな指選ぶ。
Oh.
Wow.
My gosh.
肉食。
That's. Oh
Jeez.
my gosh. Jeez.
Yep.
There it is.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Oh, dude.
Wow.
今日はお互いの名前も知れたし、レゴシ君に一つ大事な質問していい？
Jumping back a bit.
Yeah.
レゴシ君には私のことどう見えてるの？
Ah, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Predator prey.
私はね、今少し分かった気がするの。あなたと私、きっと新しく仲良くなる。
Really?
どけ！おい、じいさん、その指一本で7万だな。7万足したら本当にその指食ってもいいのか？
Holy crap.
一口ずつ食おうぜ。割り勘なら出せる値段だろ。
Dude.
おい、レゴシ。
Whoa. Whoa.
悪い。ここが学校ならお前につくが、今は状況が違う。周りを見ろ。ここは裏市で、俺たちは肉食獣。
みんな楽しそうだったよ。
Got lost.
だったし。
Yeah.
でも裏市。
Yeah, you're
Mhm.
right. Yeah. I love the way they do the panels and stuff.
大人になるってそういうことなのかよ。
Wow.
He's running through it.
Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah.
The way you can see the saliva around his teeth.
いつも思い出すよ君のことなのに
Oh.
なのにどうして
Oh, come on, Legoshi.
こんなに唾液が止まらないんだ
哀れな狼よ路地裏でぶっ倒れてくれて幸いだぜ
Yeah, carnivores don't necessarily have to just go after herbivores.
Oh, crap. Has he been kidnapped? Yeah. Yeah.
どうやら
Oh shit.
隊長はどうだ
Is he setting up
So
a
this
camera?
voice, this is,
役だろうね
Wait.
yeah.
And it has... Well, no.
おとなしくしろよ
Incoming Fight Club.
何をする気だ
Yeah. Uh-huh.
まずははっきりさせようぜお前は俺に敵意と牙を向けちゃいけねえ23質問する名前は何だレゴシ草食動物を食い殺したのはいつだ
食べてない食べかけて正気に戻った
というより仮面を
Ah, here we go.
どういう気持ちでコミュニケーション取ってるんだ
This is historical, I believe.
だから話すのか
Yeah.
Yeah.
タイミングを日々伺っ裏市の肉はな病院や葬儀屋が密かに提供している
Wow.
だから合法ってわけではねえが自分の手で殺すよりはマシだ
Wow.
忘れられず自分の
Holy crap.
That's crazy.
全身の毛が抜けるもの自己嫌悪で自傷行為に入
Yeah. Yeah, I was... Oh.
あんたは何者なんだ
俺は裏市の診療内
Really?
これ以上枚数を増やさぬように俺は仕事を続けなきゃな
Oh. Jeez.
敵と取るか味方と取るかお前次第だぜ
This is so interesting.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I did not expect it to go that way.
Yeah.
哺乳類でクマか大きさも性格もヒグマと変わらないが一つ大きな特徴がある
They're vegetarians.
肉食でありながら草だ
Oh, right. They can... Yeah.
俺は自分の獣はもう捨てたこの町に医者が必要だと気づき腰を据えて十数年笹をひたすら食って鍛錬を積んできた俺はな
They chose the right voice for this guy.
Uh-huh.
何者でもね
その危険な肉食獣を捕らえた時どう治療するんですかあなたは
治療今まさにお前に
Yeah, this. So talk to them. Nice.
患者じゃない
それも患者の状態
少なくとも俺は自分で克服しようとしてる
それも上等句なんだよ
あなたもあるんですか俺は少しずつですが彼女と友達になれてるしそれに
うるせえ聞いているのは狩猟
Oh. Oh, that's...
やつなんだよ
Oh.
とどまるなら今だ彼女との関係を断ち切れ
Jeez. That's nuts. That's nuts.
俺自分でもよく分かってないんです恋愛経験が全くないから判断できない
全くこれで自分を試せいやこれはマジだこの雑誌に興奮したらお前は単に特殊性癖を持った少年ってことになる
Basically test to see if you're just getting hungry, like when that happens.
Oh, that's not a horrible idea.
もう嫌だ
Oh, poor boy.
Yeah.
This poor guy. The thing that sucks though is that his school friends might say that he went to the dark market and that's why he didn't come back, So he might be in big trouble when he goes back to school.
Or maybe it wasn't gone too long. Oh.
青葉どうしてここにああ逃げてきたんだ
Yeah, Alba was showing a little bit of hesitancy when he saw how Legoshi reacted.
草食の友達とか思い出したらもう俺気持ち悪くなっちゃってよ
Oh. Oh, Legoshi's eyes are welling up with tears.
さっきはごめんな
Oh.
帰ろう
しっかり立ちたい
Oh.
爪が生えたこの足でこの世界で俺も青葉も
Oh.
ただしっかりと立ちたいだけだ
God, such a good, such a good episode. Such a good episode.
And the world building.
Yeah. Ah.
Okay. And we got a new character. 2 new characters that are probably going to be recurring. I don't know how much for the Doctor, but all right.
Okay,
All
this
right.
episode took us in a very different direction. We did continue a little bit from what happened after with regards to Hara and Legoshi, but their interactions were more kind of a light little passing.
Yeah, something in the backdrop for where Legoshi was at emotionally and mentally in this episode.
Right, and that is in that, they went out and about into town, something that Legoshi apparently hadn't done for like a whole year.
Right.
And the utopia society that they've established is actually anything but. It is something where there might be, in some ways, a semblance of a utopia.
And given the things that they mentioned of how the dark market gets its meat and things like that, it's stuff that makes sense, right? If you have carnivores, right, and they very much want to eat meat, then it like I almost see it as being like something where it's like you have it marked as an organ donor kind of a thing. Like I could definitely see that being a thing,
Straight
right?
up,
But there could definitely and almost certainly is an illegitimate side of it too, where it's like there's some of it that's legit and then there's a lot that isn't, and they kind of mentioned that with the hospitals and stuff, sort of under the table sending stuff to them.
Right. Now, the crazy thing about this is that the discussion as to what's right or what's wrong isn't really the point here. The fact of the matter is that carnivores at this stage in this world's development are in a really tricky situation.
Oh, yeah.
In that because their instincts are being suppressed to this point, many of them are turning towards extremely self-destructive tendencies.
Yes.
What I liked was that they brought that up in tandem with destructive tendencies towards others. Which actually aren't apparently as common because of things like the dark market.
Right, because that's basically a way for them to still sate those instincts and desires in a way that, hopefully isn't causing any harm.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
However, the fact that it's not entirely working here because it's in conflict with the actual messages of society means that we have this guy here who is saying, oh yeah, that's great and all, but I've come across many carnivores like you. Many carnivores like you, Legoshi. You are not special in this case here.
Right.
Well, you might be, but we'll be testing that.
But the main thing is finding a place of balance and acceptance within yourself, and because within this society, it is the dark market, not the carnivore market, that's something where there's all this, guilt and shame and things like that of the idea that he might need to go there when there's a bunch of other people that go there and it seems to be a very functional kind of thing.
Right.
There's been an equilibrium that's been established.
Yeah. However, we don't know anything with regards to why this dark market still exists in terms of like whether or not the authorities are all aware about it and they haven't just clamped down and stopped it, or if it's more of a thing of where, everyone knows about it for the most part, but it's like the thing of where, but you don't actually go there, right?
Right. It's probably seen as maybe improper or something like that. It's not for polite conversation in society maybe, but it's something that's like
it's an integral and important part of how carnivores are able to
function,
get by.
And especially like the fact that there was sort of this contrast that was shown between the carnivores that were grown adults,
right,
and sort of on their own, right? And if they go to the dark market, they go to the dark market. That's their thing that they do, right? And then in school, when there's very much this suppression that's being put into place because they're being educated, right? So there is a certain, mindset and the like that's being promoted, and there you go, right? Whereas, like, because one of the things that I really like about this show is that it shows all the different perspectives. And while there are things that, say, like Bill does, where it's like, whoa, Bill, you're just wanting to eat that guy's finger. Like, okay. But then at the same time, he has a much better understanding and has come to terms with his carnivore nature in ways that Legoshi could take some tips from. Not copy completely, but take some tips from.
Right. And I think that this is something that just shows the lack of sustainability with regards to the way that they currently do things, is that they are raising these kids at the school specifically to live in a society that doesn't exist.
Right.
So what happens is then the kids then grow up and start to just look around and realize, wait a minute, that's not actually how the way the world works. So something needs to change in that regard. Otherwise, things are going to just get worse and worse and worse over time.
Or they could just, just be abstinent for the rest of their lives.
No.
Yeah, no,
that's not possible.
Yeah.
So with regards to the way they started this episode, we see that there's another devouring. So this is a systemic problem that's going to keep getting worse and worse. We get introduced to Juno. Juno is a character that I think fulfills a very unique role in that we've kind of avoided showing duplicates of species outside of many dynamics here. We had a little bit of a species kind of situation with Hara and the other rabbit, meaning that there's definitely similarities, but they're different breeds of rabbit.
Right,
basically.
and that was even a part of the point of conflict.
Right. But in this case, we get to see Juno, and it's like, oh, she's
also a gray wolf.
She's also a gray wolf, but she also has a little bit of that, oh, we have to stick together, us gray wolves, and, maybe doing a little bit of that crush blush kind of combination thing with regards to Legoshi. We'll see where that goes. And that's interesting.
And it makes sense that it's there, because in this place where they so much feel like strangers doesn't even cover it. It's or not strangers, not outsiders. That doesn't even cover it. Right. But that basically that their existence in and of itself is something that they should be, ashamed of at the very least, and basically not acknowledge, right? Yeah. That part of their nature. And if Legoshi becomes really good friends with Juno, then that can be an aspect where he is, literally confronting an aspect of his nature of being a gray wolf and hopefully coming to accept it through coming to accept her, right? Because I get the feeling Legoshi is going to have some very different standards for other people than he does for himself. He's going to be a lot harder on himself than he is going to be on her.
His whole thing of you'll get used to it eventually. And she's like, I don't want to get used to it.
And he's like,
it takes strength to stay frustrated like you. Oh, well, I'll be going now. And then, she reveals she's part of the drama club. She's heard about you, and she does the really cute but awkward thing of, hey, can I get your phone number really quickly? But, basically that. Right. And then he also just completely, just doesn't, I don't know. Well, it seemed like he answered her, but...
Right. He's like, okay, so are you heading to the club today? And it's like, oh, no, I'm not. And then it's like, oh, okay, we'll see ya. And it's like...
Oh, Legoshi.
But then they go into the whole conversation bit of the drama club teacher, supervisor, or whatever, mentioning, don't, herbivores, don't leave the campus. Because on the one hand, there's all the suppression that's happening for the carnivores, right? And then on the other hand, there's this weird, almost herding feeling with the herbivores, right?
Yeah.
And it's, it's for their own good. They stay safe, right? We've had devourings recently, so don't go, on the streets at night and things like that. Stay in the school where it's safe, but,
Yeah, then we go out into the main world here, and there's a whole lot of things that are just casually there in the background that I'm like, wait a minute, they're trying to give us all kinds of like little things out here, like the way the shops are all like labeled and stuff.
Sure.
Little connotations to certain species of animals and where they fit into this society and stuff.
Flying licenses,
yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Cafe Botanical, seeing some buskers and stuff.
Yeah.
Seeing, all different types of people, basically.
Right. It's very much a functioning city. There is an aspect of it that functions, even if there are the aspects of it that don't.
Right. Then we got basically this really awkward bit of just conversation from Bill, but it's like, oh my god, that just cringes me to like I cringe inside reading that. Just you're so self-centered during sex that I just feel empty. It's
what does she mean about that?
What does she mean about that? I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But it brings up the whole, oh yeah, so Legoshi, when are you going to do something about your virginity? In some ways, that other aspect of his nature that he hasn't been fully addressed yet, right? The thing that when Haru actually treated him like a male, he was like, that feels good. Like, what is this? What's going on?
Yeah.
This hasn't really happened before.
Yeah. I just love how many times we had in this episode also where Legoshi basically has this like he does this body language thing where when something kind of addresses him in an awkward way, he goes like statuesque, basically. Like, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but he kind of just goes, it's almost like the deer in the headlights kind of thing.
Right.
Pun intended, since we do have a deer involved in this story.
Yeah.
And he does that like quite a few times when people like kind of call him out on things, and then almost immediately he goes into his own head and is now like thinking about stuff. So it's kind of interesting there. The Zoozle bit was funny. But zoo, animal and stuff like that. But then this twist.
Oh geez, that was dark.
This twist was so freaking dark, and I love it.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
It was amazing.
The I don't know what this animal is necessarily.
Looks like a goat.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But just
like
here are my fingers. Here's how much they're worth.
Right,
would you like to eat them?
Because it's it's a common trope in stories, I feel like, especially in like the sort of noir style stories, where it's like, okay, you want to show that like a city is dark and and all that stuff and seedy or whatever. So you'll have like the prostitutes by the side of the street, or the person being like, hey Johnny, you want some stuff or whatever. But the idea that when people fall on hard times in this world, one of the best ways they can get by is by literally selling themselves in a finite, I'm not going to get this back kind of way. Like, yeah, that's slapping the message right in your face right there. I got 6 or 7 fingers left.
Calm down, Deku. Jesus.
Right. Exactly. Like, you want to buy one?
Oh my god.
Oh god.
Just the smell aspect of it as well, with the red creeping up all around him.
Like the presentation of it was stellar.
Yeah. And then we jump over to Haru, and she's holding on to one of his fingers.
Yeah.
You notice that? Like, yeah.
Yep.
You and I can probably become good friends. And, how do you see me?
Right.
And then Bill basically like has this moment of where he's like, what? Whoa, dude, if we split the cost, we can afford it. And I love how quickly in some ways Bill doesn't really seem to realize that there's been a progression of the relationship between him and Legoshi. So he sees it all as in some ways like we're good. Like everything's flat. We had that spat on stage. Yeah, we're back to baseline. There's nothing that has anything against us. So when he goes, "What's your problem, you dumbass?" I believe Bill in that he didn't see this coming.
Yeah,
he's like, "What? We're all in the same boat here." Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
we worked everything out on stage in our carnivore way. That's good,
right? And then the fact that Legoshi, we never seen him get this angry like we've seen him come really close to this, but his fur was bristling.
Oh yeah, that was such a cool effect. Like, okay, like there are some times where like Beastars, with how it presents itself and everything, will do little things where I can tell like that's a 3D thing, right? Like when the bird, when he was helping Juno, and then the bird goes past him, like just like you know, at him and gets like really close to the camera. The way it moved, it's like you could tell that was something that was a lot easier because it was 3D, right? Legoshi's fur bristling there, that was awesome. That was so cool.
Yeah,
like
it was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that he is comfortable enough with this side of himself that he's able to go to this quickly when there's something that disturbs him like this. There isn't this like hesitation where it has to stew and then all explode like it did on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just, you know, tells him straight up, you know, what the hell are you doing?
He doesn't tell him anything though. He just,
what's your problem? Yeah.
No. That's
no.
Bill saying that, and it's basically him saying, "Give it a rest already. Do you know what you're saying?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if anything, he doesn't really say much at all.
I think that's pretty clearly stating that he's got a problem.
No, but
with
my
what he's doing
point
here.
is obviously that. But I'm saying that he's not actually saying much. It's making him so angry, I think, that he can't really say that much. All he can do is get angry.
Yes,
here.
but
so that's not showing an area of control. That's, if anything, showing an area where this is something that he's willing to express himself in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he would have attacked him if Aoba didn't step in the way. He is not in a state of control in this point here, though.
I would still say that it is in a state of maybe more control than he has previously been, because it is still in an outburst, you know, but it is something where he is being, and maybe acceptance is a better word, but the idea that was something that he decided to outburst, right?
Yes.
You know, it was still something where he, like, yeah, Alba needed to step in order to keep them from fighting and things like that, right? Because he wasn't in control in that sense. But this is still something that I don't think Legoshi would have ever let himself do until recently.
Yeah, I feel like also that I think you're right. I just think that the environment being somewhere
it's
that we've
extenuating
never,
circumstances.
Yeah, this doesn't really apply in that regard because it's so unique and different. And he's never been outside. Like, sorry, it's been a year since he's been outside,
and he's never been to the dark market.
Yeah.
So he hasn't been confronted like by something like this.
Right.
Yeah.
The closest thing to this actually was when he encountered Hara in the first episode and nearly ate her. Yeah. That's the closest he's ever been to this. So he's already in a frenzy a little bit. And I love that Aoba kind of showed a little bit of his wavering on this by stepping in on the middle there.
And then sort of looking down into the side.
Like, Yeah, Aoba was showing that little bit of aspect of this. And then, you know, is this what it means to be an adult?
And then he runs, which is just great because it's essentially the becoming your own man, like, question of taking what you can as lessons from the previous generation, etc., all that stuff.
Sure.
But then also having that point within yourself where you know that this is what I believe in and all that stuff, so that if push comes to shove, you can, you know, draw your line in the sand and say, this is what I'm about. Right. And that's truly what that is the best example of growing up, right? Is when you fully decided, you know, what you're about and who you want to be, regardless of what society and people around you say, right? Yeah. And then he goes running through the market, and I'm glad that he's able to run all the way through, even though he collapses into a drooling mess afterwards.
Right, understandably. Again, also, I love that Aoba has that look that he gives kind of like, of sadly towards Legoshi of like, like in some ways, I think that Aoba is in the situation where he's like, I wish we could all just kind of like not have to deal with all this. Like, he's like, I wish things were easier.
Right.
And so the conflict of all this is something that he's avoidant of, to the opposite of Bill, who's more conflict kind of happy. Like he kind of will happily jump into those kinds of things, maybe because in some ways he's enacting more of his carnivorous instinct to consume, you know, flesh and stuff. But I love that we introduce probably the coolest concept of world building character exposition guy. In this historical voice, Mondo Panda type, like, just Oh, I love him. I love him so much.
There were so many places that my mind went to once this happened where I was like, oh God, Legoshi's in trouble.
Right.
Right?
And this was the most wholesome.
And it was actually one of the most wholesome things ever.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is that with the way that he's interacting with Legoshi, it's a complete acceptance of wherever Legoshi's at.
Yeah.
Right? He put a muzzle on him. He chained him to a post. You know, he's like, hey, you know, and he records the whole thing. He's like, all right, you know, and then he sits down all casual, like with the claw marks over his eyes and face and everything, just having a smoke, being like, all right, so what's the situation? What's your name? You know, who, like, when did you first eat your first herbivore? You know, oh, you haven't. Oh, you're still in contact. Oh, okay. You know.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
It was like this crisp, perfect picture of someone who had been there before, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I feel like Legoshi has needed this entire time, right? Yeah. With the case of, say, Juno, it's like, okay, there's another gray wolf, there's some commiseration, there's some connection there. Mm-hmm. In the case of this guy, it's, all right, I'm not the crazy one, right? Yeah. There is actually the possibility that maybe I can do this, you know? Like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And because he wasn't seeing that when he looked out into society with the dark market and everything, is that what, you know, it means to be an adult and all that? So
sure. Yeah. What I really liked about this character was that when we see them, there's a little bit of a story just given right in the immediate aspect of their character design. I think a lot of the other characters being uniformed in a school environment means that there's actually not as much character given just in their model and in their design.
Sure.
They're limited in some ways by the fact that they are a specific species of animals. So maybe that gives a little bit of a picture of focus where their conflicts might tend to lie. But then again, I'm not a zoologist, so I don't know as much about animals as, you know, the people in this story are kind of, you know, educating me more than I am kind of having
coming into it with the information.
Exactly, yeah. So in this, you see someone who has very much kind of taken their carnivorous status and turned it towards, you know, understanding other carnivores here.
Right.
But they have paid a price for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know why, but the idea of not seeing pupils, not seeing any eyes, is ominous. It is terrifying.
Yeah.
There's that's not right. There's an intentional choice here over the fact that there's no eyes.
Yep.
Where are the eyes? Now it's specifically how they look, and that there's the black, you know, circles around where the eyes would be, but there still should be some dang eyes there. So I think it's more to bring up some kind of point about this character,
right? Well, and that presence to him. Like one of the things that I've been wondering with this show is, where's Legoshi's parents? Because that in this situation, he very much has been needing a role model to look up to, right? Louis's been that in some cases.
True,
but it's something where he needs someone that can tell him how to be a wolf, right? And he doesn't seem to have that. Now, there could be a story there if they go into it. Awesome, right? But this guy shows up, and he might not be a wolf, but he is a carnivore. Right. And when you look at him, just with his design and stuff, like, he has attained mastery of himself, right? Both from the will side of things, that he's a vegetarian, right? He's just eating bamboo and stuff.
Right.
But then also, he works out. Like, you know, there's the whole idea of, like, the meathead and whatnot. But one of the coolest things that I've experienced with working out, and that I've seen from people that take their body seriously, is that because it's hard to do, it is a way to sort of like hone your mentality, right? So that way, if you do something, you know, if something's good for you to do, even if it's hard, you do it, right? And here, he's in this place where he has found a balance at that end of the tunnel where him being a vegetarian is not a conflict for him anymore, right? In a similar way, how it is for Bill, except, you know, Bill's going into the whole carnivore thing, right? And this is an image, sort of, that this is possible for Legoshi.
Right. Now, it's not a happy image.
Right.
It's not in some ways an ideal image. This is a response, I would say, a little bit more so than it is a proactive decision. Now, I think that in some ways there's aspects of things where nothing is so black and white and that it's specifically a...
Except for pandas.
Yeah, exactly.
I just had to.
Yeah. But he started to see a need in that there were carnivores that were turning towards self-harm. Now, I want to go out on a limb here and say that this scene here is probably like far more important in terms of like setting up and establishing future conflicts and stuff than almost literally anything else we've seen in the show thus far.
I would not be surprised.
The fact that they chose to have this imagery wall, this pictures bit, which by the way, I guess we were wrong in this respect that he's not actually recording everything. He was just using the camera to take pictures of him at specific points and stuff so that he can post it to the wall here and be like, I'm going to use your story as part of the story that I tell the next person.
Right.
Because this is a continuous growing problem. But if you look at the different things that are here being focused on the wall, there's so many different ones that are absolutely disturbing on so many levels. There's ones where they said like they've bitten off their own arms. Right. But then there's one where they like tore off like a huge chunk of their neck flesh on the back. Biting their own ears, tearing them off. But there was other ones as well where it looked like they were like starving themselves.
Sure.
Like a whole bunch of them there that just...
Jeez, one of them like tore all the flesh off their legs, basically.
Yeah, slashing
and the look in the eyes, like... there's the physical, the physical...
But there's the obvious mental scarring. Sorry, the not as obvious mental scarring, basically.
But oh, man.
That's just disturbing. Like, this is the kind of thing, though, that I was bringing up in an earlier episode where I was freaking out when I saw the menu. Because I was like, there's certain animals that you just can't survive on that diet. But then I was like, okay, yeah, sure, there is definitely going to be some good protein in there to where they would be able to get by with it. But it's still not that simple.
Especially for the bigger animals, because they need a lot.
Well, maybe not even the bigger animals, just the ones that need, on a instinctual level, more of that, that hunter's instinct. Which, I really liked the line that he gave here, which was, that thing you're feeling, that you're calling love, that's just warped hunter's instinct. That line alone throws so many new kind of things into the variable equation of this show's future conflict and drama. Like think back to what started off this show. We had a devouring, right?
Yep. And we almost had another.
Well, no, but that previous one was in the context of two animals of the similar species being in a relationship. But as far as it looked like in the first episode, it was some kind of like late night some like thing or what have you.
The animal was alone and there was some big
carnivore.
Big carnivore with round ears.
I am getting maybe a vibe, maybe, that one of the things that's really awkward and tricky, and that all the people in this world are aware of it, is that the reason why a lot of carnivores end up friends with carnivores, and a lot of herbivores end up friends with herbivores, and not the other way around, is that the subconscious truth of this is that you realize that it's usually carnivores wanting to be friends with herbivores, or, like carnivores wanting to get closer to herbivores. It's not usually the other way around, because there's that instinctive fear from the herbivore side regarding the carnivores.
I'm not sure if that's something all the time, or if we just see it more in the case of Legoshi because he's a wolf, so he's one of the most like carnivores out there,
Well, there's I think think like you were bringing up, there's a size thing involved for sure, but like
because like I can imagine that like Louis wouldn't have as much of a problem with like, say, you know, a raccoon. You know, like he wouldn't be as worried about a raccoon. You know,
well, a raccoon is a carnivore.
No, I know. No, yeah, exactly.
I'm not talking about carnivores with carnivores. I'm talking with carnivores and herbivores.
No, I know. That's why I'm saying Louis and
Louis.
raccoon.
Oh,
yeah.
Louis.
Like,
gotcha.
Like, you know, because Louis had the whole thing.
My brain has heard Legoshi.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But, you know, because with Legoshi, it's like, yep, every time he's making those gesticulating hand gestures, it's like, those could be tearing out my throat, you know? But, like, if it was, like, something much smaller but still a carnivore, probably wouldn't be as big of an issue.
True.
But, yeah, there still would be that, you know.
Right. There's
subconscious
this thing called right. There's this thing called a food chain for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hence why Louis wants to climb it.
Yeah. And I feel like that line, though, specifically with the idea of there being this warped perspective, not just surrounding the whole world itself, but that Legoshi wants something that he's unable to have because society has suppressed it. The idea that he wants to be a carnivore and eat meat. But he's also, in parallel, wanting something that is just, I would say, more of just a base human cross, you know, species, everything need is companionship, relationship, or what have you. And Haru was one of the first to give him a unique form of treatment in that.
Right.
While still having some good connections with people. Like, Legoshi still has Jack, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
Now, their relationship isn't necessarily, like, crazy close, but they have known each other for a long time.
Yep.
But then you see other instances where Legoshi's like, oh, yeah, he was friends with Els, you know? You
right.
know?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Tem. I get the two mixed up. Tem was the one that was
right.
devoured,
Yes.
but it wasn't necessarily anything super close. So as Legoshi starts to open up more and more, he starts to be more free, like you were saying, with like expressing himself in certain instances here. So what's that going to lead to? Yeah,
I don't know, but I hope that he comes back to see this guy again because with this, I don't know, should we just call him Panda Man? That seems
no.
Yeah, but with
call
the
him Thorkel for now.
Sure, Thorkel said some really good things, right? It is also something where he does have only a certain perspective, right? And in the case of Legoshi, maybe it is warped hunter's instincts, you know? Like, and there's probably
a good chunk of it is,
right, and there's probably a good chunk of it is right, but it's not so black and white.
Yeah,
and when it comes right down to it, Legoshi can and will find his own path, whatever that ends up being, right? So, you know, there's a lot that he can learn from this person while at the same time making his own decisions and not just, you know, taking what Thorkel says as the word of God or whatever, you know, but understanding where it's coming from, years and years of experience.
Right. Yeah. I just love that he was able to talk, you know, straight to Legoshi like this. And then
here's a bunny porno, you know, see if it does anything for you.
Yeah, giving him basically the herbivore porno magazine or what have you. I think what's really healthy about this, you're gonna laugh about it here, but if he's going to basically look at this and realize, oh, yeah, I actually am physically attracted to her beyond the hunting kind of thing, like there might be some unique things that come about in this. Now, I don't think he's necessarily going to follow this guy's instructions.
Yeah.
I think he might just be so revolted by the idea of doing that that he's just like, no, not at all. But I think it could be a thing that's brought up later as maybe a point of a little bit of awkwardness, because there is a lot of things that just him and Haru haven't talked about.
Sure.
So if they can keep this going very slowly, like they are right now, let's be good friends. That's a good starting point. Let's keep this up. Let's keep this up and have more conversations. Just little by little. I'm wanting that.
Me too.
Wanting that.
Yeah. If there ends up being a point where Haru like finds his bunny porno mag, I will not be surprised, and I will laugh.
You will not be surprised that she found it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, yeah.
Because
that's
it's like
definitely a thing.
that's just a Chekhov's porno right there. If I ever saw one,
because
like,
if he's not going to use it,
right, then
someone else is going to find it.
But
that's the point of it being.
It does
there.
bring up some good points. One that Legoshi is not properly acknowledging the side of himself that is scary, right? He's not actually going there, which means he's not actually getting to know the details of how he works as a person and as a carnivore. And that's probably the best outcome from like this porn mag, for instance, is that whatever happens, whether he thinks it's super hot or not, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, now that's additional information. How are you going to use it? Because, his will, he still went through the dark market and didn't need anything, right? He can choose whatever he decides to choose. But he needs to know where that decision's coming from.
Yeah. So, y'all, this is a good episode.
Yeah.
And now we know a lot more about how contradictory the real world is in this one. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all of this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yep. Wrote a sci-fi novel called Battle Lines. It's on Amazon. It's awesome. Go check it out. Link in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.